Personally, I've been in that situation before where you really feel like you want something sweet. And then you have something sweet and you just feel like you want something more sweet. And then finally, you have something salty. And you're like, I'm not craving sweet things anymore. What the heck is going on? There is a perfectly viable explanation for this, and it's going to change how you look at cravings, and it's going to probably change how your life operates. Let's dive in. After this video, check out the Good Lovin brand's new Almami sauce. This is unreal. Okay, so these are the guys that bring you probably the best keto bar that's on the market that I've talked about before, but now they have a sauce. This is not like your ordinary mayo. This is unreal stuff. The flavor is tremendous. So the people that originally brought you bitchin' sauce that you've probably seen on like Costco shelves and stuff like that, that's the same people, except now they've made something with 100% organic almonds. They've made something that has a 5-month shelf-stable life with no crazy weird stuff in it. It is unbelievable. So if you're doing low carb, or even if you're not, if you want something that you can use as a spread on some keto bread, or something that you could maybe mix with some eggs, or what I like to do is put it on some asparagus, or put it on some veggies, this is the jam. So you're gonna use code DeLauer25 and you'll save 25% off of a sample pack. So it's only a few bucks anyway. So that way you use that link, use DeLauer25, and you save 25% off of a sample pack so you can try the different flavors and see if you want to go further down the road of getting some jugs of the stuff, because I'm pretty confident you're going to want to. So that link is down below. Again, use code DeLauer25 after this video. It's kind of interesting because we're not necessarily designed to be consuming these hyper palatable things like high amounts of sugar, high amounts of salt. Think about it. From a natural perspective, is that really what would happen in nature? I'm not saying we all need to live like cavemen. I'm just saying that, it's kind of weird, right? Well, what's interesting is when you look at how the brain is built. Okay, we have these things called NST neurons. Now, I've talked about this a little bit in other videos, but I wanted to do a little bit more of a deep dive. You see, we are, from this just innate perspective, designed to need salt. So when we start craving salt, it is a very, very important thing. Ironically enough, if you put livestock out in a field and you put a salt lick out in that field with them, they're going to find that salt lick. They're going to get to a point where their body tells them, or their brain tells their body, you need salt. So go find the salt lick. Pretty interesting. Well, I mean, humans, we don't typically have salt licks laying around our house. I mean, I do, but whatever, right? So what's going on here? Well, in our hindbrain, so in the back of our brain, we have NST neurons. These NST neurons are responsible for registering our angiotensin levels and noticing when our blood pressure is low and our sodium levels are low. So if our sodium levels in our blood start to come down a little bit, then we have an increase in what is called angiotensin. And this starts kind of a process of potentially retaining minerals, retaining water. That part's not important. The point is that drop in blood pressure and that rise in angiotensin signals these NST neurons in our hindbrain. And these NST neurons are there to help trigger the forebrain to say, oh, hey, like you need to go and you need to find salt. So again, from a survival standpoint, when our blood pressure drops, registers with the brain to say, find salt. That's how important salt is. Now, you've heard me talk about how critical salt is, not just if you're sweating, not just for muscular function, but just in about a million different things in your body, right? Now, what's interesting is the neurons that respond to sweet cravings also respond to salt. I don't want to say that the wires get crossed. I used to kind of say the confusion happens with the gustatory response, like in the No, it's more about the neurons still receive that signal of, lack of a better term, satisfaction. And in this case, the satisfaction is, okay, well, some of this survival aspect is taken care of. So where we run into a modern world problem is that if we're craving salt and we end up eating something sweet, we'll probably go and eat something sweet and salty or something like that. So we're satisfying both. But the bottom line here is that when you crave something sweet, I can't give you an exact percentage, but I will say that oftentimes you're simply craving some salt. That does not mean that if you're craving something sweet, you should go reach for a bag of potato chips. What it does mean is that if you're reaching for something sweet, maybe you should pause for a second and have a little pinch of salt. Or maybe what I've done, honestly, is have a cucumber with a little bit of salt on it. like practically no calories, and I sprinkle a little bit of sea salt on it. And interestingly enough, what it does at a brain level, it is very, very satisfying. And now when you look at the data and you understand how this works, it makes a lot of sense. So once the hindbrain, those NST neurons, communicate with the forebrain, or more logical region of the brain, it codes the stimuli. What that means is sort of like medical billing, right? If you go to a doctor's office and you have a procedure done or a checkup, they're going to have what's called an ICD-10 code, formerly an ICD-9 code. I know this because I was in that world before. Anyway, the point is that coding is how they know, okay, this is how we're reimbursed. Essentially, that's kind of what's happening in your brain. Okay, so if you continue to code your salt cravings as sweet cravings, that forebrain coding for that stimuli begins to continually satisfy that process. And arguably, you could potentially say that the sweet cravings are going to get worse and worse and worse the more that you satisfy salt cravings with sweet cravings, with sweet foods. Now, some of this is speculative, and a lot of it is really looking at mechanistic stuff. So we have to take that for what it is worth, right? But, and this is a big but, I have spoken with hundreds of people about this, and I've talked about this in seminars, and it's arguably almost all the people I talk to anecdotally have noticed the same thing. When I crave something salty, I grab something sweet, but actually if I have a little bit of salt, my craving goes away. So it's something to try out, and it's something that's practically priceless to be able to try. So give it a shot. I'll see you tomorrow.